The experience that happened in my response to that pain out of his death in such a, brutal way was a deep dive into drugs and alcohol and sex and just really using those to be numb. There's a lot of behaviors I could almost feel shame around, and yet I wouldn't know or be who I am without those and have an understanding to help others in those positions.
Welcome to Live Well, Be Wise, the podcast that deepens the well-being conversation, finding the gold in your stories of hardship and the connection to wise action and lived wellness. Join us for today's episode as we sit down with Chandra Villano, who shares her richly engaging and awe-inspiring story of surviving suicide loss and her own near-death experience. Hear how this profoundly shaped her life path and her personal journey to wellness. Just so excited to invite into the room today a dear friend of mine and a local healthcare provider. Mostly she's here because she's a dear friend of mine, and she's willing and excited to help us launch this podcast, Live Well, Be Wise. So welcome, Chandra Villano.
Thank you.
The focus for us is this exploration around wellness and health, but to dive beneath the surface. In our culture, we really talk a lot about quick fixes and supplements and the next great exercise or thing that we need to be doing to be well. But in this podcast, we're really focused on looking at what is the lived experience that shapes your wellness. We're just excited to hear from you, Chandra, about how you define wellness in your own life. And is there a story that you'd like to share with us today about your journey through challenge or hardship and how you've learned to live well?
For me, wellness in my own life is having awareness and engagement in how I care for myself. Second to that, how I care for my marriage. And then beyond that is expanded out to family, friends, community. But it's really about consistency in paying attention and engaging. And then for me, it's, do I feel rested? Do I feel in balance? Is my fun, work, play, life in a state that I'd like it to be in? And continuing to check in on that awareness. Am I in harmony that I would strive to live in?
Yeah, and that's just an ongoing check-in, isn't it?
Constant.
How many times a day would you say you check in on that level?
I think more and more frequently it's hourly, sometimes every 5 minutes. The more that I try and live in a higher observatory role, call it my higher Chandra, is I just almost talk to myself in an observatory role of what's coming out of my mouth or what's coming out of my action.
Can you give us an example there?
Well, I'll say things like, hey, Villano, was that very kind to yourself? Or would you say that to a good friend? If I'm observing a thought filtering through or a judgment filtering through, whether it be on my personhood or my perceived success in my profession or a way that I responded and treated my husband. I guess the answer would be checking myself on thoughts. And then also I tend to pull back almost in a visual way in my head and look at the structure of my schedule and what that looks like from above, and would I want that for someone else? Because I tend to really have thankfully shifted to care about myself, but it was so outwardly outpouring for so long to others that now it's more kind to reflect on me. How am I living? And I could be gone tomorrow, so how do I want today to be?
Wow, it sounds like you have a lot of ways that you have learned to skillfully just check in with yourself on a day-to-day basis based on what you value. And
very frequent, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I just had a vision from what you were saying. You said above, and so I actually saw you looking down on yourself and mapping, all these parts of yourself to come together the way you would like.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, very intuitive, because I feel this came out of my story that helped be the bridge to get to where I am today and taking care of myself. My parents got married when they were 19, had me when they were 20, and was divorced when I was 1. At that time, my mom went back to Ohio, where we were from, and was working full-time and going to night school, and I basically got raised by my grandparents, who became very much parental figures. My mom got remarried when I was 7. After high school, right as I was graduating college, this like bigger than life dynamic relationship that I had with my grandfather, he killed himself. My mom found him with his head blown off. And so she went into a depression, and it rocked my entire world. And so that led to me going into therapy and being introduced to a lot of self-care tools that I had no perspective of at all.
And how old were you at the time?
Around 21.
Okay.
The experience that happened in my response to that pain out of his death in such a, brutal way was a deep dive into drugs and alcohol and sex, and just really using those to be numb. Yeah. And so therapy was really helpful. But at one point in my apartment in Akron, Ohio, I was sitting by myself one evening and had a very profound, probably my first true belief of an encounter with spirit, is that a voice came into my head and said, "You're in a downward spiral. Where are you going in your life?" And it was so auditory and shocking, but yet nurturing. And at that point, I internally, just on the dime, made a decision that I needed to quit all drugs, all drinking, pull my respect of myself back in.
Yeah.
So it was a really difficult process of white-knuckling through that. Sure. I was very much tapped into a bar community. I was the top of the hill, the heaviest drinker, the big shit.
Had some identity there.
And that's very, very much forged. And lost all of that, lost all the people that I thought were friends. And so was kind of finding my way. And then I had a near-death experience where I have a fatal allergy to everything in the Homopterus family, all the bees, wasps, hornets, etc. Anyhow, I got stung 3 times by some yellow jackets and ended up hospitalized and had a near-death experience where I did leave my body. And so I have visual memory, and at the time I was an EMT. I was working in cardiopulmonary rehab, had lots of medical knowledge about emergency care. But I was in the upper corner of the room, and I was looking down on myself and watching myself and my boyfriend at the time, ashen gray and terrified that I was going to die, and just slowly, calmly looking at a very bright light that was next to me. Profound white light, but I was very calm, and it was very clear to me that it wasn't my time, and I was not meant to die, and there was absolutely something I was supposed to be doing here. But that visual, I could see the tops of the cabinets, I could see the monitors, I know what my blood pressure was, I know what my heart rate was, and I was questioning, why aren't they endotracheing me? Why aren't they caring for me faster? And I woke up 5 hours later in my body, in pain, about 5 times its size, and for months my eyes and my eyelids and my ears and my lips peeled, and I dealt with slow reacting allergy. So out of that, then major things changed, because while I was in bed recovering for weeks and weeks and peeling and weak and debilitated and couldn't work, someone brought me a yoga journal.
The magazine.
Okay. I'd never seen it, but somewhere in those last couple of years prior to this happening, I had been introduced to Hatha yoga, and it changed my life. In the recovery process, I was able to not white knuckle it, and I was able to create new friends and create a better relationship for myself. So I started practicing yoga daily, but really couldn't or didn't have the knowledge of adaptation at that point in my life. So laying in bed recovering, and I see this ad in Yoga Journal for Bastyr University. And I had, since my grandfather's suicide, had done a 5-year master herbalist apprenticeship with a woman in Ohio, and really began to study. There was a chiropractor there that helped me begin to make dietary changes, and I made total switches in how I cared for myself nutritionally. So through those processes, I knew that there could be another way. And my grandfather had been on meds for 2 years that should never have been combined for more than 2 weeks. So there was a big malpractice suit and a lot of trauma around his death and mismanagement of his care. He had documented suicidal ideation that was never dealt with. So, but all that to say, the power that came out of the pain of that experience, out of his death, and knowing that I almost died, was like, okay, I'm supposed to be here, and made a decision that I needed to go check out this university. It wasn't even on my radar that I could do medicine without being an MD. And I had been in cardiopulmonary rehab for almost 10 years, had done all the pre-med to go into cardiology. But being in a world where I was helping people with lifestyle and breath work and stretching and nutrition and exercise, and we, at that time, lovingly, cardiac rehab got 3 times a week for 12 weeks. I mean, 36 times with people. You really got to know them and felt like you were making a difference. So it eventually led to me going across the country and looking at a university where I, ended up going to medical school. But those 2 things, that near death and his death, are really what did a big course change for me. And then learning to need to start exploring internally.
Incredible. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm still sitting here kind of processing a little, like, wow.
I was just thinking of the time frame that happened for you. In some ways was a gift early on.
For sure. There's a lot of behaviors I could almost feel shame around, and yet I wouldn't know or be who I am without those. Yeah. And have an understanding to help others in those positions.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You just gave me chills with that.
I know. Oh my gosh. So that's just the perfect lead into the next thing I want to know, which is, I'm sure there's been a lot of things that you've unlearned, but give us one. Like, what's one thing you had to unlearn, or give up, or make peace with on your wellness journey?
One of the hardest things was that with my dad gone, my stepdad gone, my grandfather gone, there was a real setup of perception that men will leave me. And what I had to deeply relearn was that my power did not come outside myself through sex. It took a while, but when I got it, it was so crystal clear about where a lot of patterning coming from and behaviors that...
yeah, that's a big one.
It was... Really? Yes, when your power is tied up outside yourself, it's really hard to be well, in my opinion.
Yeah, because then you're just always looking outside of yourself, right? For everything.
Right.
Yeah. And I think we're honestly really addicted to that in our culture in general.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Even in the wellness community, or a lot in the wellness community.
Yeah.
Like, what's the next thing that's going to make me feel good? Or that I'm being good or doing right, or whatever your language is.
And for women, where I think culturally we don't have as many cultivated aspects of power in as much a way as males get.
Absolutely. Positive role models for empowered women. Well, you're one of them. Wonderful example.
Well, and of course, right now we can hear how you can talk about your story and maybe the mental state that you're in today, which is afforded by all those years of what you've been working on. But maybe you can expound on that a little more, of what has been your attitude or mental state that has helped you along this journey.
Hands down, it's an attitude of gratitude. Once I feel like I woke up, and I have Christian friends who said I was born again when that voice came to me, however that gets translated. It was an awakening of sorts. And I feel like prayer might be one way to say it, but I feel like I emanate gratitude constantly for the old beat up car I had to get to work, or whatever it was at those times. And now at these times, it's continual. And sometimes it blows my mind when people just seem so unsatisfied, and I like yearn for them to just, how do you give that resonance internally? to be so grateful. So that was, I think, the mental state.
And how did you get there? I mean, you may not know the moment it arrived.
Part of it, I believe, is through the practice of yoga for me, and learning more and practicing more about breathing and consciousness and pulling it into my body and quieting my mind, just having an evasive sense of, when someone takes their life that you count on, it's different than a normal death that you might expect that's coming, and that the shocking value of it, at least for me, instilled that, man, I could be gone and so that preciousness or value of every day, okay, we're in this crazy, challenging human experience, and I can hate it or I can embrace it and try to find what's really serving to me.
Yeah. Wow. Fabulous. I think it's so hard. We talk a lot about gratitude. I think some years ago, Oprah kind of made it famous, and it's lovely. But I often want to hear from people and it's difficult to track even for myself, but what is the medicine? What's the action of gratitude that can really shift? Would you have another kind of
I feel like for me
that?
On a cellular level, and part of this is medical mind that comes in from work like the biology of belief from Bruce Lipton, that we know protein receptors on cell membranes do certain things when we operate in fear or love. They can receive nutrition or not. So we know in science those kind of things are there. But I feel like for me, it's actions of yoga and breath work and moving, and
it's embodied.
Correct.
It's a self-study.
Yeah.
For sure.
That brings it in a way. And so for me, the action part of it is having a really regular morning routine, and that I try to have unwavering. And during the course, not currently, but there were 13 years where, and the numbers stick there, but for 13 years I had an hour yoga practice that never wavered. Then I went to med school and it wavered a bit, but I still, for the very majority of my life, stretch and do yoga and breath work tied in with some meditation literally almost every day. I don't feel the same if I don't do it.
Yeah.
But in that piece of having this regular command of myself that I want to focus every morning and try to be intentional, I think that helps the cells vibrate in a place of you're safe. Some of the Ho'oponopono, I love myself, it's okay. But just reassurances to the mind, body, spirit that you have some actionable items you can do that then translate to how the physical cells feel, and there's a direction. And
I had a friend recently discussing this topic of discipline and how a lot of people don't like that word. It's a sense of responsibility and feels so serious. But she was saying with her practice, her movement practice, her breath practice, her voice practice, that with those under her belt in the morning, that there was a freedom to that, and that brought about more freedom to be herself. And that's pretty much what I'm hearing you explain.
Very, very similar. Yes, I would concur. Nice. That it sets the tone then of what's the resonance that I do the rest of the day.
Gosh, I have so many questions percolating. It's like, oh my gosh, where do we go from here? It's incredible.
Well, I'm still on that back burner of just absorbing all of your story. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And I think it really does give us perspective. I had a friend recently lose his son to suicide, and I sat with that a couple days for myself in just realizing that this is precious, that once that soaks in, it's kind of hard to change that thinking. You don't want to just dwindle moments away.
Yeah. So many traumas and tragedies wake us up to the gems, right? And that's kind of what we're talking about here. So tell us a little bit more, Chandra, about, I'm going to use a great phrase here, badass truths and wisdom. Does anything kind of fall under that heading for you in your life? Things that you've learned that you feel are just so integral. They're so badass. They show up and they really do the job.
I have found how I view the structure of my life and how I operate and observe myself, that there are some really common statements that I say to myself, and some of these I've used with patients. One of them is that nothing tastes as good as healthy feels.
Ooh, nothing tastes as good as healthy.
Sit with that.
And that, to me, is such a truth. And for myself, in moments of eat your way through the cupboard or the freezer,
Yeah,
or operating out in the world, has been so helpful to me. I feel like that is really a truth. I also feel like for myself and people that I watch that do something every day for their personal development, whether it's listen to a podcast that's feeding or enlightening or uplifting, even educating, or reading a book, or, you know, maybe finding the best of Instagram. And I almost loathe IG, but yet I do find myself occasionally looking up a few people that give me a little snippet of meditation or a different, you know, positive affirmation, and just some spark from outside myself. I think that touching in for me, like every day, I'd like to do one little thing.
Yeah,
that
cool.
really, really helps. And my husband and I talk about this idea of cultivating awe.
Yes.
And I feel like the wisdom of the vibration of what awe brings. And I recently saw something that was kind of comparing, contrasting wonder versus awe.
Oh, tell us.
But the wonder was more that you are enthralled by what you see or hear. But the difference of the response to the brain body then is maybe you see butterflies and that's just wonder. But then maybe you are like, well, where do they live, or how do they do their chrysalis? Or it almost encourages you to learn more and kind of be inspired.
Get curious.
Deeper or deepening of curiosity.
Yes. Versus awe in the definitions that are being tweaked out. And some of this was from Brene Brown. But that was awe brings an expansion. And that it's almost like it puts you into a sense of being part of the all. And so cultivating awe, I think, is sort of a desire on a daily basis. So sometimes when I do my morning meditation, sometimes I tick through a few phrases that just spark me for the day to remember, to not get unconscious in my doingness and try to be more. So I love that.
That's incredible. Sorry, I have to ask real quick. What else would be an activity that would be awe-inducing or cultivate?
I feel looking at the night sky.
Bingo. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Really?
Yeah.
Looking at the planets, the stars.
Is getting to a place out of the light pollution a little bit, laying in cool grass. I think being out in nature in general can cultivate awe. I think sometimes watching children and that unabashed freedom can cultivate awe to us. For
Love
me,
it.
sometimes seeing athletes, I feel so inspired by the incredible human performance that we're capable of. That is, I can be awestruck.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awe-inspired.
Yes. Yeah, what this physical machine is capable of.
Totally.
It's really great. Another one is that laughter is the best medicine.
Amen to that, sister. Ooh.
And I just think we can't have enough reminders.
Yeah.
Throw the water balloons at your neighbor or whatever, find the quirky fun in
Put a dirty sock on your microphone.
Yes. Yes. There's a graphic I've seen before, and it looks very medical with a big pill tablet, and it says laughter. Ask your doctor if it's right for you.
Perfect.
I just I've actually written it as a script for patients
Yeah,
before.
yeah.
Like, please
I can
take this
imagine.
and show your family and say that,
Right.
this is what you need to do. And then something that about 2 years ago was mind-blowingly helpful was in a miracle mindset group that I participate in. The question was posed, is it okay with you if you're in the same spot as you are next year? And that for me was like, with what I want to do with my life, no, it's not okay. I wouldn't personally be satisfied or happy.
Yeah.
And so I love that because it gives us time and it's not pressured.
So just
And-
asking the question
Yes.
to yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
And maybe it is okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Right.
Which
yeah,
can be
don't
fine.
judge it.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're in your flow.
Sure.
You got it going on.
My knees don't hurt today. I don't want them to hurt in a year.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Something like that.
Yes. Yes. But for me at a deep level, that question
Yeah.
was really, really
Oh,
helpful.
that's beautiful.
It's a good trigger question to get you to like feel it and then maybe question and know it.
Nice. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And just lastly, for me, having studied a lot of the Abraham Hicks work and the law of attraction, is the concept that I can't bring myself low enough to lift someone else up, and that my guilt or unworthiness does nothing to serve, and that if we are all raising ourselves to the highest vibration or income or physical performance or whatever it might be, my strong belief is that there's enough for everyone of all the resources, and that by someone succeeding in whatever manner that might be viewed at, it just raises the vibration and the energy and maybe the inspiration for everyone else, and it doesn't take away. And it took me a long time to absolutely 100% believe that.
Yeah.
And I do now.
I appreciate you bringing that up.
Absolutely.
I used to really struggle with the blessings I have, but it doesn't take away from anybody else. There's enough, and
Yeah.
we all deserve it.
Oh, that's just so true in that, like, what we think, feel, believe makes such a difference.
Yeah, if
You
we're
know.
living in scarcity mode, then we'll stay in scarcity mode.
Yeah.
But truly feeling, as you said, to drink that in and know that there's enough. I'm enough. There is enough. We can all be enough.
Yeah. And that
Yes.
we can really only help people when we're vibrating higher.
Yes.
I mean, because we all have times when we're at the low, and we all need someone to show up that's vibrating a bit higher than us.
Yeah.
To help pick us up. And
So
support.
true. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think there could be a book in there.
I know.
Chandra's Badass Truths. Dang.
Hey, chapters
Hey.
1 through 7 already.
I know.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So as a culture, we're learning to find a lot more value. We're having a lot more conversations around authenticity and vulnerability, which I love. Thank you, Brene Brown.
Right?
So the next question for you, Chandra, is what challenges do you currently face in this arena? And how do you know when it's time to ask for help outside of yourself?
For me, it has to do currently with my profession. I was in cardiopulmonary rehab for 10 years, and I've been practicing naturopathic medicine for 20. And coming through the pandemic was a incredibly stressful time to practice medicine in the divisiveness and the world that we have all just come through. And so I'm in the current process of switching from one-on-one patient care and doing more teaching and educating and wanting to work with some indigenous plant medicine facilitation. And in that process, when you have a state medical license, there is a lot of perception and judgment. I've been paying 20 years without missing, and I still have a medical student loan. My family has certain, expectations about what I do or what I earn. And so shifting to where my heart's desire is and where I feel like I'm really called and what I need to keep bringing in servant leadership is not necessarily in line with what my mind is always going to judge for me, or that what I perceive others are going to judge there. So that's sort of a place where I feel a little vulnerable right now.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
sometimes in how I represent myself, there's almost a imposter syndrome of, when you're a doctor, what you project out, but yet, where you're really trying to go with your life. So that's the place that I feel it the most right now.
It's a big transition.
Yes.
Yeah.
Significant on emotional and physical and schedule and economical levels. It's not consistent income and and when you're still paying on a student loan, there's, judgment around that.
Absolutely. And so, vulnerability, and I often say to myself and to my students that I teach mindfulness to, that pain is essentially a state of vulnerability. So any state of pain, whether that's heartache, spiritual ache, or pain in my neck, in my body, vulnerability arises when we feel hurt in some way or we're in pain. So maybe that example you just shared is a good one, or maybe there's another one where, where's that trigger for you where you say, okay, I'm hurting, and where do I get my support? When do I know it's time? Mm-hmm. Especially considering, your history with drugs, alcohol, and sex you mentioned in the story. It took you a huge wake-up call to, start to really change those habits.
Yes.
And you've done it.
But I'm guessing not without help.
Not without help.
Right.
Yes. I feel warm love and this amazing gratitude for the therapist that I first met. Just even go to counseling, coming off of, an addict lifestyle was really up in my face to do. And my mom is a licensed social worker and a licensed counselor and sober. And so that was also a huge place of, had to find it for myself, could not hear it.
Yeah, yeah.
But for me, the internal triggers are, normally I really strive to live in a calm, grounded manner. I love to be heavily physically challenged, active, and dance. And how I like to be consistently is this calm demeanor, grounded. And so for me, pretty quickly, I will notice that my heart rate goes up. I have abnormal sweating patterns. I can feel skip beats or flip-flops in my chest, and sleep can be disrupted. And then I have a little harder time quieting the monkey mind in my beloved, dependable morning routine.
Right.
And you're like, oh, yep, Villano.
Yeah. There's stress.
Something's off. Yeah. And that can be going a little bit, even as much as I feel like I try to live in that observatory role, and that can shape it like, okay, I need something. And so I have a history of 5 really bad head injuries, and head and neck have taken big physical traumas. So very quickly, tension can build in the upper shoulders and neck. So I know it's time. I don't let that go anymore. I'm not going to fix it myself necessarily. I'm an advocate of good chiropractic care.
Yeah.
I, see a massage practitioner monthly.
Nice.
For, body care. But mostly there becomes this sense of unsettlement and anxiousness
in your body
that's just overriding everything, and I can feel it. And then I don't feel like I'm thinking as clearly. I'll find myself maybe more short or reactive with my husband, and normally we have just this beautiful synchrony of communication. So when I feel that off, okay, check that out, Chandra.
Reflect.
Talk to the self again.
Yeah, because I love that you really wove in what kind of sounds like a classic stress response in a way. This is what the body starts to do. You noticing what the mind is up to.
I would say that a lot of us don't recognize those things when they happen, unfortunately, because we don't have, or a lot of people don't have those years of that self-study again, to know, oh, my heart is racing. Oh, I have a little sweatness happening. And we try to push that down.
Oh, yeah.
We want to shift that aside, and rather than recognize that that is a response to our nervous system to ground, to take time, to breathe, to pause.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It's like I was trying to make that connection between the stress response and vulnerability. It's like it really is the body saying threat.
Yes.
Right? I mean, that is the signal of the nervous system when we're in stress response. It's like, I don't feel safe. And that's a place of vulnerability.
Yes.
So I love that you really walked us into that.
And the other piece in your questioning that comes up can be pieces around body image and food cravings.
Yeah.
And I have so much awareness now that those are so much less, but I used to almost live there. And so if that gets lit up, it pushes up against who I want to be and how I want to live, because in naturopathic medicine and coming back to really trying to live in the mental state of gratitude is we grow a lot of our own food and want to be kind to the earth. And so I feel like my responsibility as a human being on this planet taps into how I treat my food and my body and the earth.
Yeah.
But when that's lit up, really old patterning around, especially even in middle school and high school, the friends I hung out with, we were, I think, very in balance in our thinking about body image and food. Wow, looking at it now, it's almost horrifying.
Yeah. But even now, that can still get lit up.
Pop up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now I can
Makes
see
sense.
it almost as a entity. You know, I can feel it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you've reared your head. And but if I will go into my practices that I know serve, I can, work it out a lot easier now.
Sure. Yeah.
So you had mentioned going to the chiropractor and monthly massages, which is so, I think, necessary for all of us. But when you do feel out of sorts, are there other folks that you reach out to, professional, or maybe it's friends or family that you need to just maybe vent, release, or check in?
Yes, I feel massive appreciation, gratitude for what I have cultivated around me. But professionally, I have a nurse practitioner that I reach out to that, the doctor who treats yourself is a fool. So I see another professional for hormone management. I'm almost 6 years into menopause, so getting some support with that. I do have an MD that I see about once a year, just as, needed. Knowing that I have a lot of tweaks with my head and neck, I do, as needed, see a chiropractor. I feel very blessed to be able to see, massage occasionally, but I have seen, some psychic healers, looking more at, soul and energetic levels of things. I have in the past previously done some regular acupuncture. So professionally, I don't hesitate to reach out now. And I feel like, I'm afforded with what I know also to sometimes really know, gee, I could really use to see this professional. But more so than that is a very tight, beautiful, rich fabric of friends that show up and that are doing their own personal work and that can reflect. Or, I can ask, am I off base on this? Or, man, my low back, I have this chronic place that continues to go out. Do you have any thoughts on that? Do you see any things with me? And it's a safe place to get reflective listening and, other people who are doing personal development and who, are in other healing modes. I have a friend that's a Lomi massage therapist and a shamanic journey guide who is very grounded and yet brings a whole different set to the toolkit than I do. And so bridging the gap of what's there. And then I also feel really blessed with my family because my mom is who she is and brings, 45 years of knowledge. And for, I think, maybe 20 or more of those, she was in, substance abuse. She has like the highest license in the country you can get in dealing with addiction.
Right.
And here I was, a floundering mess, but I couldn't hear it. But, she has been there like a rock. And she got sober when I was in high school and couldn't hear that either, at that time. And my stepdad that I, kind of grew up with from like 7 to 18 is a philosopher. So he's someone I can call for just deep thoughts. Something I feel I carry as such a gift from him is he shared this idea of the philosophy of the impressionist theory that the energy of a person, the deeper the love or the relationship, that it makes a bigger impression in your energy. And when that person is gone, the bigger the impression of that energy that you feel. And so I think about that a lot in almost how I live now and the people that I have, and that almost helps to keep the gratitude kindled, because I'm in the moment, in the present, aware of how greatly, certain people are just impactful in my life. And so I love that philosophical, theory of things.
That's beautiful.
And my husband is a psychonaut. He's a questioner. He's an explorer to like the nth degree. And he's a huge creator. And so he's also a source of, I feel very blessed that in my marriage I have someone that can meet me and stimulate and is interesting and very straight to the point. And we are able to really, in a healthy way, reflect to each other.
Wonderful.
So I feel like I am blessed with a team.
Yeah, I think you've nailed this whole idea.
Right? Right? Well, I was going to come back. And that is what we want. We want to curate the people that are going to be supporting us and who we want to support in return. Yeah. You've done that probably even before you knew you were doing it.
Yeah, gathering your tribe, your team.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
And I feel like in
awesome.
the world and positive psychology and sociology that the number one thing we're missing is connection. And I feel blessed in that way.
Totally.
And it's not something you can just, snap your fingers for someone. So
there's not an app for that.
What you're doing here, there is not an app. You can't get it that way. But I love the basis of what you're doing here, because I feel like I've had such a deep, rich vault of experience and people and what they brought and little snippets for me that are just so valuable.
Yes. Oh, thank you for that.
Thank you.
That's
both.
Just amazing. Yeah.
I celebrate what you're doing.
Yeah, the connection is everything. I know. Dorinda is speechless.
I am speechless.
Oh.
This has been a very just heartfelt conversation with you, sharing not only so much, but just events that, others aren't equipped to even process yet. And so, deep gratitude from us.
Yes, absolutely. It's just incredible. So I wonder if in closing you have a question. So a lot of podcasts or things end with like a bit of advice, but I always find for myself in my life that a question is the juiciest thing to chew on, because it's just a helper. It helps me question and grow. So do you have a question for our audience that would kind of be in this genre that might just help another?
Yes, I feel pretty strongly about this. And it is, what is the next easiest step you can do towards where you want to be with your wellness, with your goal? What is it? And even if that's, I need to sit down on the ground or I need to take a nap, because that's the best next ecological thing you could do to get there.
Awesome. Love it. What's the next easiest step to achieve your whatever it is you desire?
And that goes for this moment, or it goes for your life.
Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing. Like, I could use that every day, and then for the long term. Thank you so much.
You are welcome. Thank you.
It's incredible. Yes. I think I'd just like to reflect back to you, Chandra, and this is what we hope this podcast can really bring out in everyone, is that when we hear other people's stories, and not just the nicey nice, the look good, feel good, but like the true, the real, authentic life stories that you've just shared with us, that just makes us feel not just connected, but just not alone, right? We're not alone. And I think that's the biggest myth in the place where we suffer the most. When we feel alone, that's the moment you know you're suffering.
Yes.
Because it's just not true, right? I hope that, and I know that so many people will listen to this and take away just different threads and sparks that they say, wow, that's my story. I can do this. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you both for what you're bringing to the world
Yeah.
and our community.
Live Well, Be Wise is produced and recorded by Kari Lyons Price and yours truly, Dorinda Carlson. Our music is titled Inside You by Leva, a musician and composer at Lemon Music Studio, who we happily found on pixabay.com. Our circle of sharing has concluded for today, but we'd like to give a great gratitude to you, my friend, for listening, for tuning in, maybe even tapping into that understanding and compassion and the knowing within that tells us we're not alone in our own stories. So maybe you would like to share one of your own, or know a friend or a mentor or a teacher, someone you admire that has an extraordinary and inspirational story. We all have stories. The more we share, the more we know we're not alone. And don't be shy to reach out to connect in other ways, too. Of course, we'd love for you to subscribe and also give feedback. We wouldn't be here without you. We appreciate you. Live well, be wise.